I thought I knew what Sydney would be like. Beaches, sun, the Opera House, you know, typical Aussie postcard. But after driving over 13 hours from Brisbane with my wife and in-laws, I realised something that most Brits don't understand until they get here. Australia is massive, and Sydney is nothing like I expected, especially from someone who's been living in Brisbane for the last 10 months. So here's what Sydney is really like, from someone who's just got here, fresh off the road.
The thing is, I got really comfortable living in Brisbane. It feels like a new home to me. It's familiar, it's special. I had completely got used to life there. But Sydney was a whole new experience. Even though I was only there for a vacation, it still was a big change. It's like when I visited London for the first time. I'm used to living in a rural little countryside town back in the UK. That when I visited London, it was really stressful for me and quite intimidating. But I had this attitude about me on the road trip down to Sydney that, oh, surely Sydney is just a bigger version of Brisbane. Maybe it's not as warm because it's more down south. How wrong I was. So like I was saying, we had booked 5 days in Sydney just to do all the touristy things, see the sights, and maybe find a few quirky little spots as well that I could put in this video. And honestly, it was just meant for a bit of fun, but I didn't expect it to hit me quite deep and teach me a few things about myself that I didn't yet know. Now, we were staying in Chinatown, and before everyone had got up, I wanted to get my run in, so I went for a 3-mile run around the city. It was very different, and here's what it was like for me.
If any of you know Sydney well, you'll know where we are, and it feels very corporate. The other thing I've noticed is that it is so much cooler and less humid than Brisbane. It's 17 degrees right now. Almost feels a bit nippy. I'm enjoying this weather actually, because I've been missing the UK lately, and this is making me feel a little bit at home, which is nice. We've found the Domain Sydney, aka the Botanical Gardens, and if you're a runner, you know you're always going to have a good time in a new city if you find the Botanical Gardens. You can already see the bridge. Oh, tourist moment.
And it's funny because new cities have a way of holding up a mirror to yourself and making you realize what sort of makes you a bit uncomfortable, what you love. And the thing is, I've discovered about myself, I really love the hustle and bustle of a city. It's nice having some of the people rushing around you in Sydney, but without it feeling too intimidating and too packed in like sardines, like London feels like to me, in my opinion. Now, the first day we had to tick off some of the cliche touristy things, but before that, we needed our coffee. After doing a bit of Googling, we actually found that the world's best coffee, like actually, is in Sydney. It's a company called Toby's Estate, and currently it holds the title of being the #1 coffee in the entire world. And we've discovered this one in this massive glass skyscraper, this massive corporate building. If you know what it's called, let me know in the comments below. Had this gorgeous, incredible LED screen on it, or OLED, I'm not sure. And we felt very uncomfortable walking in because we were in our like casual touristy clothes. I'm literally wearing the same outfit as I did on the day. And meanwhile, there were all of these people going to their 9-to-5 jobs in their perfectly ironed suits. But honestly, what was quite nice about it was that no one really batted an eyelid at us coming into their office building to try a Toby's Estate coffee. So that is another reason why I love Australia, because even the people who are clearly very high up in the corporate industry in Sydney, one of the top cities in Australia, people still will respect you for who you are, which I absolutely love. So we tried the world's best coffee, and honestly, it surprised me.
I've had better, but it's very good and it's very nice. But is it like relatively smooth and nice? Yeah, it's just, I am slightly underwhelmed, is all I'll say, but it's a lovely colour.
Now, we were only a 2-minute walk away from the harbour, so we had to tick that off. And walking into the harbour for the first time and seeing the classic harbour bridge, Sydney Opera House, the water, it was quite overwhelming. I absolutely loved it. It was a beautiful day, but honestly, very, very exhausting. We were trying to run around, get it all in, you know, as you do when you get excited by a new location. So I was looking forward to the next day when it was a bit more chilled out. So day 2 in Sydney, or day 3 technically, and we got on the bus to Bondi Beach. I was surprised that there wasn't a light rail to Bondi Beach and that you did need to get a 45-minute bus from Chinatown, but it wasn't a problem. When we got there, it was really nice. I really liked it. I was slightly underwhelmed, right? Because I'm used to TV shows like Bondi Rescue and movies that feature Bondi Beach. I feel like they've really talked it up. So when we got there, I was like, oh yeah, it's a normal beach. And I guess the reason why it's so popular is because tourists flock to Sydney and they think Australia, what the cliche things about Australia are the beach, let's go to Bondi. That's me imagining the thought process of a tourist. So we sat in a lovely little cafe, got an iced oat milk latte and just enjoyed the view, but I was not prepared for how chilly Sydney would be. Now this might sound a bit silly if you're from New South Wales or the UK, but as a British person who has grown up in the bitter winter, I have fully acclimatized to the Brisbane heat. 35-degree weather now is just the standard. I'm not sweating anywhere near as much as I used to, and I've acclimatized. So now when I experience 20-degree weather, it feels much colder to me. Also, we spotted a guy from Bondi Rescue, one of the lifeguards, which made my inner tourist smile. But then after that, we had a little wander around the area, looked through the shops, and it was time to get back home to get ready to go see one of my favorite musicals ever, and that was Hadestown. If you haven't heard of this musical, I would highly recommend go researching it. It's about the Greek mythology story of Orpheus and Eurydice, and it is just a beautiful production. It's got a lot of folk and jazz music in it. I'd already seen it in London on the West End, and I personally preferred the Australian cast. I love that they spoke and sung in their Australian accents, and we got around the whole time either by foot, on the light rail, or using the buses, which reminded me very much of London. I much prefer the light rail to the London tube though. The light rail is much cleaner. And then the final day we went to Manly. We got the ferry from Sydney Harbour to Manly. It was amazing. It was a bit wavy, which I really like. I don't get seasick. The sea spray was getting on us. My hair that is so much longer now gets absolutely whipped into my eyes, so I was holding it back the whole time. But something shifted when we got to Manly. That view of the Sydney skyline fading away behind us. And although I was a bit naughty and checked some work emails on the ferry, when I finally put my phone down, I felt so much more present. And I haven't been feeling that way all the time in Brisbane because I haven't been making a huge amount of time to rest and relax, and having a moment of feeling present to just take in this vacation, enjoy a new city in Australia, see more of this beautiful country that I now call home. It just meant a lot to me, and I felt very, very grateful in that moment. And it hit me. I'm not in this country to tick off locations like it's some sort of amusement park. I can just enjoy what I have right now, enjoy the city I'm in now. And when I have the time to go on vacation to different parts of Australia and really take my time with it. And I'd like to think I'll be lucky enough to not get hit by a bus and to make it well into my 90s and even 100s. If we're all lucky enough to achieve that in our lives, then it means that we don't need to rush around so much, because honestly, memories are a lot more better when you've had the freedom and the time to be present in the place you're in, rather than rushing to the next one and the next one. You know, a bit like life, getting married, getting the job, getting the promotion, getting the house, getting the car, you know? By the way, if you've been thinking about moving to Australia to create a better life for yourself, I've created a completely free guide for you, all about how you can start and get yourself set up here, with a whole breakdown of all the costs as well. And that's in the first link in the description below. I hope it helps you like it helped me. Honestly, after this experience in Manly of taking a step back and going, wow, I really need to just be present and enjoy this beautiful place I'm in, I started to walk slower. I started to look around me a little bit more, instead of feeling like I had to take photos and videos of everything like some obsessive tourist, that I could just look at it and enjoy it for my own memory's sake. And although Sydney can feel a bit chaotic, I started to enjoy it a lot more because it was on my own terms. And honestly, it made me realize I have no desire to live in Sydney, but do I want to come back to it? Yes, I absolutely do. I would like to visit Sydney a lot more and go much further out into the Blue Mountains and places like that. And from this I learned that not every place you visit is meant to be called home, but every city can teach you something new, which is awesome. And coming back to Brisbane, I felt super grateful for what I have already built here. But Sydney made me realise that I maybe need to take it a little bit slower in Brisbane, be a little bit more grateful for what I have here, and to schedule some more adventure breaks in my Google Calendar in and around work and my channel, so I can go out and experience Australia the way it's meant to be experienced, which I don't really know what that means, but I'm hoping I'll find that out. So this trip wasn't just a break, honestly. It felt more like a reset. I didn't know at the time I needed that. The funny thing is, I've hardly scratched the surface of how we got to Sydney in the first place. We took this 900-kilometer road trip from Brisbane to Sydney all in one day, and if you want to see how that journey panned out, you can go watch that video here. I learned a lot about how I am on a road trip there, a lot of things I did not expect, so I hope you enjoy that. Thank you for watching right to the end, and I'll see you in the next one.